I want to continue this discussion of the Tai Chi Classics. And I want to go straight to the line that says, Tai Chi comes from Wu Chi and is the mother of Yin and Yang. In motion, they separate, and in stillness, it fuses. If you see this symbol of the empty circle is Wu Chi, which is before everything. In the form, it's the starting point with the heels together and the toes at an angle. That's not Tai Chi. Tai Chi starts when you put the weight into the right foot and turn the left foot out shoulder distance. Then it becomes Tai Chi and it differentiates into Yin and Yang. The next part is a little weird. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that I understand what these things mean, only that I am giving my understanding of what these things mean. And I find it difficult to understand the next line, which is in motion. In motion, it separates, and in stillness, they fuse. So I don't know why it and they were chosen to represent stillness and movement. In motion, it separates. In stillness, they fuse. The problem I have with that last one, in my understanding, is there's no such thing as stillness. There's no time when everything is not changing. So I don't understand that in a larger framework or context. In the differentiation of yin and yang through movement is, I think, relatively simple to understand. The expanding motion is yang, and the contracting motion is yin. So in motion, they separate. In stillness, it fuses. No, the other way around. In motion, it separates, and in stillness, they fuse. I believe that the fusion comes with yin and yang. And I don't know of a state of fusion of yin and yang unless you go back to Wu Chi. I leave this, my lack of clarity, alone, as I do all of the things that I don't understand in the classics, because at one time I understood nothing and could make no commentary because I knew nothing. But now I know something and I offer what I know. The next line, it is not excessive or deficient. Accordingly, when it breaks, when it bends, it then straightens. I'm going to read that again without blooper. That's the problem. It is not excessive or deficient. Accordingly, when it bends, it then straightens. concept of seek the straight in the curve, I believe, is being expressed in this line of classics. It's not excessive or lacking. When it bends, it then straightens. For me, this refers to seeking the straight off the curve. In another part of the classics, it says, stand like a balance and rotate actively like a wheel. So if you stand like a balance and rotate actively like a wheel, that circle is continuous. So if it bends, it then straightens, because it's constantly bending. And for example, if you go from the position of deflect downward, step forward, parry, and the punch, the weight transfers from the right foot to the left foot as the same time the navel, the waist, the pelvis, the hips are making a counterclockwise turn, which ends with the navel looking in the same direction as the front toe. The energy of the curve keeps on moving. It's not excessive or lacking, has to do with where do I want my fist to end up. And as I'm rotating the curve in a counterclockwise way, I'll do it this way, in a counterclockwise way, and I want to release the straight off the curve to go to 12 o'clock, then I can't wait too long, because then the motion of the tangent flying off of the circle will miss the mark. If I release it too soon, it will also miss the mark. So my aim is, for that posture, is right out in front of me, in line with my vertical axis, some distance away from me. That's not subjective, that's an objective. It is the objective. And so when it curves, it then straightens. I believe that's what it says. It is not excessive or deficient. If I release it here, my punch will go off over here. If I release it here, my punch will go over here. And you have to understand that the circle has infinite numbers of tangents off it. The circle has points. Every single point on a circle, which is infinite, can be a tangent, which is therefore also infinite. And to release it at the exact time, neither too soon nor too late, neither too much nor too little, you have the ability to send whatever it is to where you want it to be. I say wherever it is because it can be delivered with the hand, with the foot, with the knee, with the elbow, with the shoulder, etc. So this is my understanding of that line of the classics. And it continues. It says, what does it say? It says, when the opponent is hard and I am soft, it is called yielding. You can take that back to the trigram that represents push. As I move forward and I feel the opposition of my partner, which is when my opponent becomes hard. Hard means opposing. I have to yield. So that's the yin that's concealed in yang, the idea of the ocean moving forward and collecting the wave from the previous one and going forward. The opposition of the tide going out is joined with the tide coming in to create an endless combination of coming and going, expanding and contracting, yin and yang, without stopping. So the yielding is the yin inside of the yang. Yang, yin, yang. And then it goes on to say, if I follow the opponent and he becomes backed up, it is called adherence. Adherence is contrary to natural response to pressure being put on me or somebody else. We have this inborn response when someone's pushing. We don't allow that to happen. So we resist them. We also don't allow that to happen because we can run away from it. Neither of those things are what we're looking for. So that's the fight or flight response, or the freeze response. And those are natural defense mechanisms that are built into our selves. To be able to adhere, we have to neither oppose nor resist. So the concept, I explained to the students that the concept of adherence is you cannot run away from your own clothing. Your clothing adheres to you the way I adhere to somebody. I don't go against them. If they're going forward, I'm coming backward. If they're going backward, I'm going forward. Just the right amount. Now that's what we call adherence. I guess it could also be likened to shadow. You can't leave your shadow. Your shadow adheres to you. Now, I've often been asked, what about if someone moves quickly? And the next line of the classics, it says it, and it comes from adherence. If the opponent's movement is quick, then you quickly respond. If the movement is slow, then you follow slowly. That's not a conceptual thing. That's a physical manifestation of a mind which has a yielding nature. So that if the opponent goes quickly, because I'm adhering to that, because I'm joining my energy with his, he cannot separate from me. So as he goes forward, he draws me in. As he goes backward, he sends me away, but only by the exact amount, neither excessive nor deficient, that they are offering, they being the opposite person, the opponent, the partner, whatever you want to talk about. And then the next line says, although the changes are numerous, the principle that pervades them is only one. What does that mean? I mean, the principle is one, it's differentiating yin and yang. And the changes are many. We have 37 postures, there are 108 postures, there are the original 13 postures, and the principle is the same. It's just repetition of something that's been said over and over again. Now the next line, I don't think I'm really going to comment on. Well, I will part of it. From familiarity with the correct touch, one can gradually comprehend internal force. I'm not going to comment on that, nor on from the comprehension of internal force, one can reach wisdom. I'm going to leave it alone. But the next one I will comment on. It says, without long practice, one cannot suddenly understand it. Long practice means continuous practice. Without continuous practice, one cannot suddenly understand. My experience over all of these years of studying Tai Chi is that the accumulation of skill is not continuous. The practice is continuous, but the understanding is in plateaus. I've had experiences where I've done the form countless numbers of times, and then one time I do it and I understand something that I didn't understand the previous time. That wasn't a gradual understanding, it came in a flash, like a, what do they call it? An insight.
Epiphany.
There's another word for it.
Epiphany.
Epiphany. But without continuous practice, you don't get this kind of growth. So my growth has been this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Not in my control. The only thing that is in my control is this is years and this is my continuity of practices. It just goes like this. I don't stop practicing. And then I learn by leaps and bounds. Effortlessly, the internal strength reaches the head top. Why effortlessly? And how does the internal strength reach the head top? That enters into the field of the metaphysics or the alchemy of our exercise. And while I have my ideas as to what it means, I don't think I have enough to offer an interpretation of that. I have an idea, but I don't want to share that idea because it's incomplete and and forming. Now, let the qi sink to the dantian is the next line. Well, that's the foundation of what we do. It's very difficult to understand this, and it's even more difficult, having understood conceptually, to put it into practice. The nature of qi is to rise. How do you take something, just for this conversation, we can replace qi with steam. Steam is the result of heating water, and it's vapor, and its nature is to rise. We want to collect that vapor, that qi, which is natural tendency is to rise, by lowering it to the dantian. Well, how do we do that? Because we don't know what the dantian is. Matter of fact, I believe there's no such thing as a dantian until we create it through our practice. And there's a concept it's not a concept, what I understand, it's part of Chinese physiology, is that the mind cannot be separated from the qi. The blood cannot be separated from the qi. So the qi, the mind, and the blood are maybe three aspects of the same process. What we can do is collect with our mind the qi and gently lead it down into the dantian. That just takes. When Professor was asked by Mr. Smith in the first book I ever read on Tai Chi, the Smith and Cheng book, why do people, regardless of how long they practice, why do they not come up to your level? Why do they all fall far below your level? That was a question Mr. Smith asked Professor. Professor said one of two reasons. Either one, they don't believe me, or number two, they don't practice eagerly enough. Believe me about what? That the soft overcomes the hard. That's true. The soft always overcomes the hard. But in that same answer, Professor goes to explain that the difference between a drop of water and a tidal wave is mass integration, or a puff of air versus a tornado is mass integration. So in order to be able to use this energy that's naturally going up, we have to collect it. And the collection point is the dantian, which doesn't exist until we start to inflate it. So this is a difficult idea for people to understand, and it's a difficult idea to put into practice because initially the mind goes everywhere, to the daily chores, to the problems in our life, to so many different things, that when you're doing Tai Chi, it's not in your dantian because your mind is not trained. In quiet standing, in the preparation posture, before we do the raising hands, I believe is the best place to start the idea of letting the mind sink to the Dantian. Because there's no movement. There's no movement, there's only standing quietly. And when you do that and focus on your breathing, not in the nose, not in the throat, not in the lungs, but in the abdomen, you can make a start with that by following the movement of the diaphragm. The movement of the diaphragm has the yin-yang relationship with action of the lungs. Because as the diaphragm contracts, it creates a vacuum, and that draws air in through the nose, and that fills up the lungs. And then the diaphragm expands, and that expansion pushes the air out of the lungs, out through the nose. So the energy of the breath is singular, but the action of breathing is both yin and yang. So that's a complicated bit of practice. It's not that, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. The concept is, at first seems complicated, but it's very, very simple. Just always bring your mind back to your Dantian. You have to be gentle. You can't be hard on yourself. You have to coax it back in. You can't force it. And then, okay, don't lean in any direction. Suddenly appear, suddenly disappear. I think it's obvious. What does it mean? Don't lean in any direction. How do you not lean in any direction and not use strength? Well, I've used the image of the head top as if suspended from the top of my head. My spine is like a rope, and where the spine and the pelvis meet is at the sacrum is a 10,000 pound weight. And so in the form, this is happening the whole time we do form. But again, the most simple place we do it is in quiet standing, which is a posture that is extremely important, which many people avoid or take for granted. Suddenly appear, suddenly disappear goes back to the concept that Tai Chi is like a great river rolling on unceasingly. The body becomes, it starts as if it's filled with stones, but it ends as if it's filled with water. So anytime something touches it, its malleable shape, responsive to the appearance and disappearance of the pressure being put on, that pressure that's being put on us is manifest in the brain, in the mind, and that response happens in the body without thinking. That's a lot. I think I'm going to stop for now. Let's see, let me just see. I may as well continue because it says, empty the left whenever the pressure appears, and similarly the right. This is a very interesting line, and because you have to ask yourself the left and the right as compared to what? And what exists between my right hand and my left hand? And this goes back to Lao Tzu. How does the softest thing in the world become the hardest thing in the world? Through mass integration. What's between the right hand and the left hand is nothing. There's nothing between the left and the right. And that nothing can be likened to the concept of steel wrapped in cotton. We know that, I know that, and you can check this out, that 50,000 psi of air can cut through steel. That's mass integration. Steel is cut by air, which is gathered under 50,000 pounds per square inch. Let's see. I don't know where to stop, but I'm going to have to stop there because I'm getting tired of talking. Alrighty, till next time.